This broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good afternoon, Stocktonians, and welcome to a special edition of Tales and Tips. I'm honored to have with me today Elzo Williams, who's the founder and president of Harvester Farms. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. And we're going to talk about gleaning. Can you define for our listeners what gleaning is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's when someone goes out to a property where there's fruit trees that would where the fruit would otherwise just go to waste and drop on the ground and rot. And gleaning is where you come and grab that and help get it to those in need to eat.
Awesome. And I was so excited to hear about this program because, as you know, and as many of our listeners are aware, many people in the city and the county are living at poverty level, and hunger is a huge need in our county and beyond. And not only that, but a huge percentage of our people live in food deserts. Do you want to talk about food deserts and what those are, and just talk about the need for food?
Absolutely. In Stockton, predominantly the south side and east side, you'll find food deserts where access to a large grocery store with healthy food is not within reach for those without reliable transportation. So they would find themselves walking a great distance, which is not feasible for a lot of them, especially with a little one and 100-degree heat like we have now. And then in our county, typically around 22 to 25% of children are considered to be in food insecure homes, which means they're either going hungry or real close to that, where they don't have adequate supply of food. And the irony is we grow so much food. 75% of the acreage in our county is agricultural. And the counties to the south of us grow even more food, and for them it's even a bigger problem. They have as much as 30% of their children in food insecure homes.
And it's crazy because it's right here, and to hear that a quarter of the children are experiencing food insecurity is really sad. Yeah. Now, granted, through schools and summer programs, there is some access to food, but fruits and vegetables, definitely the corner liquor store doesn't typically carry that. Yeah. They might have canned products that have extra syrup, sugar, salt, things like that. So they're not having access to fresh produce, other than mobile markets like the food bank has, mobile kitchens and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of times kids, their best meal is at school, and it's the pizza bread and or corn dog, or basically like a frozen burrito. A lot of us probably remember school lunches. They haven't gotten any better really. And so, yeah, for children and adults and elderly people on disability, the ones that are struggling with food, there's no reason why they should go without oranges and lemons. Lemon in your water in the morning does wonders for your body to make it more alkaline, and it's a big part of being healthy. And we have a ton of those, literally tons, several tons going bad in people's yards.
Going to waste, yeah.
Yeah, oranges, persimmons. When I picked my first persimmon tree, I went to straight to my mom and I go, "Oh my God, I thought you loved me. You never introduced me to these things." And they're growing all over the place. These Fuyu persimmons are delicious.
And so many people have no idea. And even through the food bank, we have our mobile vans that go out, and we will bring items to people and they're not familiar with them, how to prepare them, how to eat them. And so we teach people how to use the produce that's available that's high quality produce and has good nutrition, but they may not know how to prepare it.
Yeah, a lot of our food insecurity issues could be addressed by addressing food literacy. You know, just letting them know how to grow things in their yard that are real easy to do, like tomatoes, and how to use the persimmons that are in their tree. Yeah, so I think they kind of go hand in hand. You know, preventing the waste in yards, getting it to the pantries, and then trying to draw those people into an environment, the ones in need, draw them into an environment where they could learn more about how to help themselves too.
So let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your background and how you became involved in agriculture.
Absolutely. So my background really has little to nothing to do with agriculture. Outside of my wife and I, we've been married almost 20 years, and we've always grown tomatoes and peppers and stuff, kind of for our own entertainment and to also, you know, reduce the expenses. We love eating salads and making salsas and stuff. But, you know, how I ended up doing what I'm doing now is I raised 4 children. I have one still at home, but raising 4 on one income, I basically found myself, I still find myself somewhat in that segment that I'm trying to help. You know, you mentioned the poverty levels, you know, they are high in our area. I haven't been in that level. I've always been what would be considered about, you know, like 200% of the poverty income. People that are in just above poverty to about twice the poverty level, they're struggling a lot.
They're struggling paycheck to paycheck.
And they don't have any help because they don't qualify because they make above the poverty level. I've always had what you called a good job, you know, made 50-something thousand a year. But when you're the only income, it doesn't take a whole lot to trip you up. And so living with that stress and finding myself in situations where I was scrambling to make ends meet, you know, I start getting frustrated, and I go, my gosh, look at all the food going bad in people's yards. And so I found myself kind of complaining, saying, you know, someone should be going out there and getting that and taking it to the food banks and pantries and getting it to people like, you know, like I felt, you know, I was in need at times. So what happened was one day I just started doing it, you know, going door to door, asking for permission to pick the fruit trees, building up an inventory, you know, a list of places where I could go and have permission to pick fruit, and then educating myself, learning, you know, agriculture at Delta College. I took plant science and horticulture, and then working in ag. So
shout out to Delta College.
Yes, they have a wonderful agricultural program, and they're investing more in that program now with some recent developments. So that's very exciting, and they have
definitely
very passionate professors. So anyone who's interested in learning about that, you have a great resource here in our own community for that. And
they're hiring new professors. Dr. Hart was just on here last week, and it was exciting to hear that they're expanding the ag program.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's needed, because I know in my first couple of semesters I couldn't get into some of the classes because they're so full. Because people want to learn about soil science. I couldn't get in that class. I was on the waiting list, actually, and I tried to use Jedi Knight tricks, and with some of the students, I go, this isn't the class you're looking for. But the force wasn't strong with me. So, and then, you know, there's also there's a Boggs Track Community Garden Puentes out there.
I was going to ask you if you're affiliated with them at all, and have participated in things with them.
Oh yeah, I've gone out there and I've met the really wonderful folks out there. BUFA, which is Black Urban Farmers. They do a lot out there, and I've had them out where we're building up our community farm. And so I think the hunger to learn, no pun intended there, but the hunger to learn these things is out there, and people are like myself and Puentes and BUFA. There's a great guy out there, Don Aguilar, that I know used to glean a lot. And he has a little garden that he's been working on. I really see in our future, and I'd love to see us really get into what they call agro-tourism. You know, celebrate agriculture in our community. We shouldn't have to drive 2.5 hours to Apple Hill to celebrate agriculture when we grow more food than they do. You know, so I'd like to see that happen out on the east side and west side of town, where most of the agricultural areas are, and then through that, help address food insecurity and literacy in our community.
The closest we have to that is the Asparagus Festival, but as you know, asparagus is depleting. We used to have 60,000 acres of asparagus, and now it's down to 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that the labor cost has kind of killed that in our area. Now, we grow more wine grapes and cherries and walnuts, lots of peaches. Right now, they're bringing truckloads of peaches, into OG Packing in Stockton. I don't think a lot of people are aware, but we ship more cherries and walnuts out of Stockton than anywhere else in the state of California. Our county grows more food than all the counties in the U.S. except for about half a dozen. I think the USDA ranked us 7th in 2015. That's out of 3,066 county areas in the U.S. So, the way I figured is if we can't address hunger and food literacy, who can?
Who can with what we're producing.
Right.
And not only are we feeding our own country, but we're exporting it to other countries as well.
70% of the walnuts get exported. That's shipped here in Stockton, and tons of cherries are exported to Korea, Japan, all over the world. We ship tons of walnuts to like Dubai. So yeah, we're feeding the rest of the world. We should be able to feed our own county, and I figure that once we get up our farm running, I think we could put a huge dent in it. So far, we've donated over 10,000 pounds to the local food banks and food pantries.
Yay!
And that's
in how much time span is that?
2 years. It's taken 2 years because I'm doing it on my days off, and sometimes during my lunch. When I worked at Comcast on Pacific Avenue, I'd come back from lunch with 300 pounds of oranges, and they'd just be cracking up, going, "You're a nut," And I said, "Orange, you're gonna call me something better than that?" So just imagine how much more my wife and I could pick, because we picked all that. My little ones helped pick some of it. But if our farm could support the cause and allow us to go pick every day, and to hire 2 drivers to drive 2 old U-Haul trucks around with a couple of volunteers, we can easily do that in a month.
And I think you could get volunteers. That was one of my hopes in doing this radio show. And we'll also talk about your fundraiser that's coming up. But I was hoping that we would have people that are listening and viewing that maybe have fruit trees or a vegetable garden or something like that, where they're willing to say, yes, you can glean from our location, or yes, I know someone that would like to help you do this.
Yeah, and I find most people, when I approach them, the large majority say yes, and that was even from real early on, before I had picked anything. It was just that idea, and I was building the confidence to keep moving forward to do it. And things like this, and San Joaquin Magazine they did an article. All these things definitely help, and I'm certain this will too. Just getting that word out, and I just can't wait. I know it's going to happen when someone comes out to the farm and they see our persimmon tree and they go, "We have a tree like this. Mom says it's bird food." Because that's my parents told me that about plum cherries. We had a neighbor with 3 plum cherry trees in their yard. Since then, my daughter and I, we drove up to El Dorado Hills to pick one. And I turned it into a field trip, of course, since it was a long trip. And those things are good. You can make great jams with it. And some people just like eating them.
We have some in the garden at the food bank. We were actually giving some out at the backpack giveaway on Saturday.
Yeah.
So let's back up. The items, if people are listening and they have access to ag items, are there things you don't want? Like if someone has walnuts, would you pick walnuts, or what about eggs?
Yeah, we have done walnuts already, even pecans. We'll grab them off the ground. We try a few and find that most of them are still really good on the ground. That shell does a decent job of protecting them for a little while. And, I first see us using, being able to pick just about anything that's edible. The only thing we're not picking now is olives because they have to be pressed or cured.
Okay.
But we intend to actually glean those as well.
Okay.
We just won't provide them to the food banks and pantries because if you eat it, you'll get sick. You know, it has to be processed.
Well, and maybe you can give it to a company that's already processing to make olive oil.
That's what we're thinking. There's the
I
olive
have a
drop.
connection for
Yeah.
that. Yes, that's who I was going to suggest is Olive Drop.
Yeah,
Awesome.
she's wonderful in Lodi, and I'm thinking if she presses them, processes them, gives us a couple of cases to use for fundraisers, and let her keep some or something like that.
She's everywhere, and she's very community focused. That would be awesome. That would be a win-win connection.
And we want to let people know about that place when they come out to the farm because, you know, recently in the Associated Press, there was some stories about how a lot of the olive oil out on the market's not even olive oil, just like the honey that's out there. And so in our area,
or not produced locally is a lot of issue too.
So a lot of the benefits are gone if you're grabbing honey from across the country because it's not going to help you so much with allergy issues. People know that if you have local honey, there's a decent chance it'll put a dent into the symptoms that you have from allergies. And
the honey definitely, and it has other health benefits as well. And we can go into all of that, and so does olive oil.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it definitely makes a difference when you're getting fresh produce that doesn't have a lot of pesticides and that's been produced in a healthy way.
Yeah, we're not going to be using any sprays or pesticides at all with what we grow on our farm as we grow it. Right now, it's real modest. Those that come out to our fundraiser will see it's a small footprint on the property right now, and that's all due to budget. You know, it's self-funded right now by myself and my wife. But as we get the pump in the ground, you know, in the well, which is already dug, and we start growing more stuff, we'll show people how to, you know, use sustainable farming practices, the old school way, if you would, using planting certain things next to each other, and using certain ground covers to help, you know, prevent, you know, your crops by being attacked. Get the good guys out there, the praying mantises and the ladybugs and the marigolds and, you know, and all that stuff.
To naturally get rid of the pests that you don't want. And I was trying to find her name on here, and I'm drawing a blank, but
I can't remember it either. I hate that.
About it.
Yeah, it's like, ah.
So tell us, where is your farm located, and tell us about the fundraiser that you're having on Saturday.
So it's located out on Copperopolis Road, which is in Stockton. It's a Stockton mailing address in the county area, kind of in between Linden and Stockton. It's 9791 Copperopolis Road. And Saturday what we'll be doing is having a barbecue. There'll be chicken, pesto pasta, mac and cheese, not from the box, so it'll be really good mac and cheese. We'll have a green salad, of course, and some dinner rolls. We have some bakers making some sweets for afterwards. We have some farm animals for folks that like to be around animals. We have some really friendly goats, a sheep. The sheep was donated by Professor Terpstra from Delta College.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she raises sheep. And then we have an aquaponics system. So people could see a symbiotic relationship between fish and strawberries, you know, and how they kind of support each other.
I want to see that. I want to check that out.
Yeah, the strawberries grow and they're not in soil. The roots are just in water, being pumped out of a big pool, if you would, with goldfish and a couple of surviving bluegill. And then we have a greenhouse that was recently constructed. I'm redoing the plastic tonight because I didn't do it right the first time, so I'm still learning a lot.
There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of things. Well, and you and I were talking about the Master Gardener program that my husband graduated from, and they're having a new class, and we were talking about the benefit of that to the community, and there's always something new to learn.
It's a wonderful program. Yeah, I've been watching what they teach you how to can and make jams and stuff, and those are things that we hope to get them out there to our location.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, to make a little field trip out there and do it. We have a hugel culture. I didn't even know what one was until, I don't know, about 2 weeks before I built one. And there's a lot of interesting things. I met someone coming out of Lowe's today. My wife sent me to Lowe's to to go get some stuff we needed for our hen house, a little hook latch. And I saw people coming out with a bunch of organic soil that they had purchased. And I went over there. I couldn't resist it. And I said,
You're talking.
I started telling him what a hugel culture was, and the guy looked at me and his eyes lit up. He goes, "Oh my gosh!" He goes, "I'm cutting down a dead tree." And I said, "What are you gonna do with that wood?" He goes, "I got to get rid of it." I said, "No, you don't." And he goes,
Use it.
"Yeah, he's in great danger of building one right now, I think."
In
Yeah.
great danger. Why don't you talk about what it is?
Yeah. So a hugel culture, you take rotting wood, like large trunks and branches from a tree, and you could dig just a little bit into the ground or just set it right on the surface of the ground. And then you take, some dead grass or weeds, compost if you have a compost pile, and all the small branches and twigs, put it above that. Then you put some soil, some more compost, some more leaves and stuff like. You just kind of build these layers.
Okay.
And then of course at the top you just want your really good soil, and then maybe some cedar mulch or something like that on the top. And what happens is after it goes through a winter, those logs and branches all absorb the water, and it acts like a sponge basically. And of course all that wood's dead, so it continues to rot while absorbing all the water. And what you'll find is you don't need to water, or very minimal watering during the spring and summer months, because it holds all that water in there. And then it's a perfect environment for earthworms and other little critters that are in the soil that are good for it to spread those nutrients around as they eat through the wood and everything. It's
Awesome.
it's just a great way to grow food, and especially when we have those drought years like we just recently had. When water usage is cut back, you don't have to have a dead yard. Those things look green and plush with no water.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is your vision? Let's say that you are able to get funding and people to work with you and do full-time at your farm. Do you see doing classes there? What do you envision?
Absolutely. What I want to do is I want to draw all the schools out there for field trips, especially the really young kids. They buy into things quickly like that, especially when they see some animals. And we want to build civic pride, address food literacy, and generate revenue doing those things. And so when people come out to the farm, I want them to see an old harvester, which was invented in Stockton, the Harris harvester. I want them to see an old Caterpillar, because we invented tractors, which led to the invention of the tank. Back in 1918, some high-up military personnel came out and thanked Benjamin Holt for inventing the tractor, because without that, they wouldn't have had a tank. So we want them to learn about those things. We want and to see them. We want them to learn that the first self-made Japanese-American millionaire, George Shima, we want them to know about him and how he did that and built his wealth growing potatoes out in the islands of the Delta, and his needs for something out there to move on that soil and that terrain led Benjamin Holt to inventing the Caterpillar tractor. Tilly Lewis, we have such a
Tomatoes.
we have a rich history in agriculture. Tilly Lewis was the first woman to own a cannery in the U.S., and that was in Stockton, and she convinced farmers to grow varieties of tomatoes that were never grown here. They thought she was nuts.
I thought she was crazy, yeah.
And our history in agriculture isn't just history. I mean, today we're having such a huge impact on the food supply, and we want little kids to know that, so that when they're older and people ask them where they're from, they don't have to cringe and say Stockton and be ashamed. They should be proud. And we want to inspire, those young minds and old ones too, because I just figured out I wanted to do this at like 38. Some of us don't know the path that we're going to travel passionately until later on. And so we want the parents to come out and be inspired too, and not be afraid to try and grow some stuff in their yard, involve the kids, get them off those video games, and learn how to grow some healthy food in their backyard.
And besides the history aspect of it, what will set you apart from Puentes?
So what we'll do is we'll have, in the fall, we'll have activities. A lot of people are bored. They're like, what do we do in this town? What is there to do? And So in the fall we'll have like the corn maze and the pumpkin patch.
So
We'll
people
do
won't
tractor
have to
rides.
go to Deloso.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay an $18 admission fee. We don't envision having any admission fee to our farm. They'll probably, we'll nickel and dime you. So like the corn maze, maybe it's $3 or $5 for the kid to go in there, or $1 for the tractor ride. But you can come and walk around, even if you have no money in your pocket, and learn and do those things. We'll sell the honey. We're going to sell eggs. So we'll sell chicken eggs, quail eggs, duck eggs. We'll have the classes, and and we'll have the little farmers market where we sell produce. What we're not going to do, that Puentes does, and I like that they do it, but we don't have interest in doing it, is leasing space for a fee for you to grow stuff. Everything we grow, if you participate in it, it's for the educational part of it and for the volunteerism. The produce will all be used to generate revenue from our farm to support us going out into the community gleaning. That's our main focus. The farm is an instrument to do all the things I just stated, to build revenue, civic pride, and education. But it's all because we want to prevent that waste out in the community, so that those hardworking families, the disabled, the elderly that are all struggling with putting food on the table, they're not qualifying for food stamps, or they just don't get enough.
They're in between.
Yeah, they're in between. I was always in between. And so
even families with 2 incomes are in between.
Oh, absolutely.
We have such a shortage of affordable housing. That's the number one reason that the homeless task force has named for homelessness, is the shortage of affordable housing.
Yeah. My daughter and I went out with the 209 Community Cares, and we brought out a couple 100 pounds of apples and pomegranates that we had picked. And, we met some interesting people, and I've met people that have come out of that situation that are just amazing people doing wonderful things. And so it's unfortunate that so many people, their perception of who's in line for food is totally off base. And their perception of the homeless is also off base. And, everyone, I think, has the right to eat, and to have an opportunity to turn themselves around.
Well, and unfortunately, there's a percentage that have created a stigma, but that stigma doesn't fit everyone.
That's right.
And
just like all Stocktonians aren't gangsters or something,
Yes.
We're not.
Yes. Yes, we have a lot of amazing people here in Stockton, and that's part of why I love the radio, because we can go out and we can celebrate people and organizations that are doing amazing things like yourself. Your organization has the potential to stop people from becoming homeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's huge. Let's back up a little bit. Do you have a website?
Absolutely. It's harvesterfarms.org. And we also have a Facebook presence. If you go on there, we have the official little check mark, and it says community organization. And the profile picture is our logo. It says Harvester Farms with a couple little green leaves coming out of, I think, the A in farms. And so by sharing that page, I've seen countless times where someone shares it, and within days someone calls us about a tree that they have in their yard. So just by sharing our page, you can be indirectly responsible for hundreds of pounds every year from that one house and that one tree being donated.
That's awesome. You can pay it forward with minimal effort.
Yeah, right? It takes 2 seconds to share.
Awesome. Yeah. And going back to the fundraiser, how does someone purchase a ticket to that? How much are tickets? And what are the hours of the fundraiser?
So on Saturday from 5 o'clock till 8:30 is when we have our fundraiser. Tickets are $20. And that covers you getting fed while you're there. And each ticket at the end has a little stub, so you have one raffle ticket built in. So you get a chance to win a great prize. We had a lot of local businesses offer up some wonderful raffle prizes and silent auction items. Lincoln Center donated a really nice basket with a $50 gift certificate and a bunch of goodies as an example. So there's a lot. Garlic Brothers, too. I love Garlic Brothers. And they donated a $25 gift certificate. We're going to have face painting, photo booth, and it'll be fun.
Awesome. And can you buy tickets on the website or through Facebook? How do they buy a ticket?
So I didn't figure out how to do that in time. So I have all these tickets, And no way for someone to really do it online. My wife, I think, had 2 people pay through a Facebook app, and we mailed them tickets. So
Can they contact you? Can they message you on Facebook if they want tickets?
they absolutely can. I got a call on the way here. So they could do that. They can also just come out and buy the ticket right then and there, and we'll give it to them. They could fill out the little stub for their chance to win. Bring a few extra bucks in case you see something you really like that you want to win, and that helps us reach our goal so we can open up the farm to the public this fall and have a little pumpkin patch.
Oh, awesome. So you're planning to have it fully functional and open in the fall?
Yes.
Wonderful.
I want to do the pumpkin patch. I have the animals already for people to interact with and a couple of exhibits. So I have a composting exhibit with a tumbler and then just a pile that has pallets around it to kind of shape it. And I have the greenhouse exhibit, the aquaponics exhibit, and then we have a modest garden that would basically could fit into most any backyard without taking it all the space.
Awesome.
And
and I was going to ask you, are you going to teach people how to do like a vertical garden if they don't have a lot of space?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
And it'll grow. So what people will see at the fundraiser certainly isn't anywhere close to the end point. We need that pump. We need the tractor.
Beginning.
Just the beginning. So this fall would be a pumpkin patch, a small hay maze, and then those educational exhibits that we have prepared. And then this spring we'll take another little notch forward, and hopefully by next fall we'll be closer to that end point. It's an aggressive goal, but it's very doable.
Awesome. And let's give your information again, your web address, any contact info that you want to give.
Sure. It's harvesterfarms.org. We're on Facebook as well, and on Instagram. Our phone number is 209-808-3375, and that information is also on our website and our Facebook page. You could go to our website if you don't have Facebook, and there's a donate tab, and that's not for money. That's for you to donate fruit from your trees. Or just to ask questions if you have ideas on how to help. We've had people donate. One person donated 3 goats to us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they were FFA projects, so kids raised them. And
They didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah, they're just wonderful. We've had the aquaponics system, the sheep donated. And of course, all the fruit. None of it came from our yard. We just have one apricot tree that produces a modest amount. Yeah, go to our website. Let us know if you have fruit rotten in your yard.
And how far out will you go? We didn't talk about that. We talked about the fact that your farm is in county of Stockton area, but what surrounding cities will you go to?
Pretty much anything in San Joaquin County we'll go to you. If it's outside of the area, then we're going to look at, okay, what kind of fruit is it? How big is the tree? We went to El Dorado Hills to pick the plum cherries. I had someone reach out to me from San Francisco, but it was just too short a notice to go grab some avocados, bacon avocados. So if you have something rotting in your yard or that's going to rot and it's in the tree right now, reach out to us. You're in great danger of meeting us face to face.
In great danger.
Yep.
And are you connected with people that are gleaning in other areas?
No, but Sacramento's doing a really good job of it. They had, it's called Harvest Sacramento, which now is affiliated with Soil-Born, I believe it's called. And they're doing tens of thousands of pounds in a year. So, I mean, it's a model that will work. I, of course, think our model that we have envisioned is better than anything I've seen. Because we're going to have so many different products to generate revenue that that are educational, that will draw them to our farm.
Awesome.
And I would like to see it spread into other communities.
Awesome. You're just tweaking the wheel to match your needs and your potentials.
Yeah, we don't want to have to depend on grants other than to build it up. Once we have it built up, I honestly really believe that we'll be able to generate enough revenue to be self-sustainable, where we could support ourselves. That's the goal. And if we can't, and I'm wrong, we can always apply for grants. But I intend to just use grants to build it up. I think there's enough demand out there for local honey, local eggs, local produce. Persimmons are so hard to find in the store, even in the fall. And I want to plant like 20 persimmon trees to meet that demand. And if there's not enough demand, we'll create it. We'll introduce people to it.
And I know where some are in Lodi. I'll connect you.
That'd be
with
awesome.
That. And I know you're coming to speak at Stockton Host Lions fairly soon. Are you reaching out to other service clubs like Rotary and such?
Yes, there's 2 Rotary clubs. There's the one that you're a member of. There's another one, a gentleman from Windmill Farms out on 88. They have all these windmills, and that's where we're getting our old Harris harvester.
Oh.
He has an antique one there. Once I have a hay barn at our location to help protect that antique harvester, we're going to drag it on over.
Wonderful.
I'm going to speak at their Rotary group as well. And then I hope to speak at the summit, the Hunger Task Force summit in the future. I went to the last one at the Cabral building on Arch Road. And I'm not afraid to get in front of people. I want to create an army of people passionate about this. And I think we can outdo what Sacramento's doing.
Awesome.
And they're doing a wonderful job harvesting fruit in their community.
Awesome. Well, it's, to me, what I love about this program is you're taking something that people have a huge need for that other people don't know what to do with. And you're creating a bridge between those 2 groups of people, and you're going to end up helping a huge number of our population, which is awesome.
Yeah, everyone wins. You don't get the little flies in your backyard from the rotting fruit. Don't have to argue with your kids to go clean it up.
Your dogs don't get sick because they're eating the rotten fruit.
That's right. That's right. And then the folks at the food bank, the food bank, one of their expenses is they buy their produce. A lot of the stuff is donated, but not the produce, other than what I bring and a few others. I think Boggs Track brings them some stuff once in a while, too. We can reduce their expense so they can use that money to get more turkeys for families that are trying to celebrate the holidays that can't imagine buying extra food and inviting family over. We can help them help others.
Yes. And as a board member for the food bank, anything we can do that cuts down our expenses, that allows us to use that money elsewhere and spread our dollars is amazing.
Buy milk and cheese for the families, more of those things, eggs. So, it's just a no-brainer. There's no risk for anyone that's involved in this whole process.
And especially if you can get people volunteering their time and the food is all donated, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a project for FFA kids, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. There's a lot of schools like Able Charter, which is part of Humphreys University. They have a requirement for a certain number of hours to volunteer. So we can give them a really fun place to volunteer out at the farm. And then I intend to have horticulture and agricultural students from Delta help in the gleaning.
Awesome. Have you reached out to the Farm Bureau at all?
I've gone over there. They're right by 99. I've gone in there and got a little information from a nice lady in there, but I don't see there was no obvious ways for us to help from that one conversation. Maybe.
Okay. We'll work on that too.
Yeah, let's work on that. Yeah, because I'm like, gosh, that place there seems like a no-brainer, but maybe I got the wrong person in there on the day, or they're busy or something, but I know who they are.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
If there's anyone listening that has a rusty piece of old agricultural equipment, I see it all the time driving down roads, and you just want it out of the way, we would like things like that over at our farm. We can find out what it was, how it was used, and let people know, and we can use it for educational purposes. We want things like that out at our farm to kind of fill space and put it next to that old harvester that we're going to get there eventually, and show people what tools were used in the past. And then Caterpillar has offered to bring out a newer piece of equipment during our peak seasons for the ride. So we'll have something new to compare to what's old.
Awesome. And we can celebrate ag in our community. Wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Your organization is amazing. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I am the voice of Stockton. You are the voice of Stockton. We are the voice of Stockton. Let's make it a great day.